Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ensey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Urbina,
Yes.
Chairman Wilsey.
Yes. All right, any commissioner absences coming up? All right, seeing none. Any communications to the board?
No communications this week.
All right, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the October 11th, 2022 meeting?
So move. Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ensey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Urbina,
Yes.
Chairman Wilsey.
Yes. All right, how about some voucher approvals?
I'll move that we approve accounts payable vouchers 198-125 through 198-205 as outlined in the agenda for a grand total of $269,627.87.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ensey,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Urbina,
Yes.
Chairman Wilsey.
Yes. All right, any reports from 3390 tonight?
No report tonight. President Flick is at some hazmat training tonight, but I
All
talked
right.
to him yesterday.
That takes us to Chief's report.
Great, thank you. Good evening. A few things. I was contacted by a Matthew Macklin who is running for the legislature in District 26, and he is asked to do a ride along with me and some engines. So we'll be doing that this Friday. Our two laterals have hit the streets this week on Monday and Tuesday. Evan Pearson and John Wright. We had a pinning ceremony for them last week. We're excited for them. They're going to do a great job. The two other laterals, we're almost through the process with them to give them, we gave them contingent offers, and we're about ready to give them full offers. And their start date is looking at like November 14th. I reported that we had a grant to send 2 firefighters to paramedic school, and we have at least 2 people that have put in, and that window is still open. So pretty sure that we're going to get to send 2 firefighters to paramedic school next year too. And that grant covers their expenses plus all the backfill for them to attend paramedic training and it takes close to a year. So we did that with West Pierce. Last meeting I reported we were doing logistics division chief interviews. I'm happy to say that we have offered and he has accepted. Steve Peterson will be our next division chief of logistics, and he'll start November 1. Last Friday, we supported East Pierce Fire, had a death in their family, and so they could attend the firefighter's funeral. We supported them and covered part of their district with some units, and we were proud to do that. I've been reporting that I thought I may have a resolution for some in-person meeting by going to Peninsula School District. Today, Tanya and Chief Black went there to test it out, and it's not looking as promising as I thought, unfortunately. So we're still going to try to run that down, but it looks like we may be here for a little bit. Next, I will go to the city. Commissioner Wilsey had that suggestion, so I will meet with them next, and we'll try that avenue and see if we can use the city's facility. I had been reporting that I've been working close to over a year with South Sound 911 and Kitsap on a CAD to CAD so that we can seamlessly be dispatched with South Kitsap. We finally have a meeting set next week on the 1st with both dispatches and myself and South Kitsap chief to go over the scope of work with the CAD vendor Hexagon. So still no date for finalization, but at least we have a meeting set to set the scope of work. So, progress, we'll take it. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, and at least let you know something that I'm thinking about and looking at, and I think we're going to evaluate. When I got here, we had been contracting with Central Pierce for IT. And as of January 1, we started an IT consortium at Central Pierce, Graham, Keepin, and Gig Harbor Fire. And we started a consortium on January 1. We're having some frustrations on cost of service and service delivery. And I am going to look into maybe leaving that consortium. I've already let them know that we're going to evaluate our options and look at bringing that back in-house. So it's more of just a heads up of something that we're gonna evaluate our options, see what it would take, how much it would cost to bring it back in-house. And I'm not saying we're leaving yet, but I wanted you to know that we're evaluating that. And I've let the IT consortium know that too. That is all I have for Chiefs updates, unless anybody has some questions on any of those items or any questions for me in general.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any standing committee reports? Anybody get together? I don't believe we did. All right, financial report. Crystal.
Hello. Okay, let me share my screen here. Can you see that? Awesome. Okay, so this is our September financial report. This is through the end of the third quarter. Highlights to note, we are looking a little under from a percentage standpoint compared to the year complete. This is expected. I think a couple areas to note on the revenue side, we'll be getting some of our FEMA Safer Grant revenue reimbursements here in the fourth quarter. And property taxes, as expected, we'll get our October collections here in the next month or so. So those will be reflected on next month's report. So on revenue side, we are on track. On the expense side, a couple key areas of line items that are showing under in terms of actuals. Legislative is where our election costs are. So those are invoices that we will be receiving both for the ballot measure for capital and for the EMS levy. So both of those invoices are coming. So that is expected. So those will be coming in. On the data processing, that is where all of our IT contracts are. So a lot of those will be processed in terms of our contracts in the fourth quarter. So those will be coming as well. Other key areas to note is our vehicles. You'll notice that one looks really light as well. This area is the capital that we had projected that would come in this year that we have budgeted. So we had a medic unit and a series of other capital planned in this budget. Those will not arrive, nor will we pay for those in this calendar year. So that is showing a little under budget, but that is going to be coming in a future year, whether that's 23 or 24. And then MSO, that area is showing a little higher than plan. I will say that there is some reimbursable expenditures here through the public assistance grant. So that is some items that will have revenue reimbursed as well. Other than that, there's really not any significant changes over the last month, and I'll see if you guys have any questions.
All right, thank you, Crystal.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I don't have anything for chairman's report tonight, so that takes us to the 2022 bond update.
If I can figure out how to.
All right. As Crystal takes that off the screen, we have Chief Johnson is still moving forward. No updates there. Today on coming up, you'll have a MRSC vendor roster. Once that is approved, then we will go out to look for a vendor to assist Chief Johnson. So that will come to you in probably 2 more weeks or 4 more weeks. So and then tomorrow is our bond rating. So Crystal, Chief Oldenburg, and myself, I didn't know the big role that I had to play, and most of the slides are mine for some reason. But tomorrow is our bond rating. So we will be going through that. We've practiced and hopefully everything goes well, but that's a big deal that's coming up tomorrow is our bond rating. Commissioner Wilsey, I had originally said that you might need to be there. We don't, you're welcome to be there, but you don't need to be there. So I'm introducing our department and going over the introduction. So you're not needed, but of course, if you want to be, you're welcome. So that's what we got for the bond right now.
Any other questions for the chief about the bond? Anybody have any questions about where we're at in the process or anything? I think they're all up to speed. Okay. Very good. So this time we'll enter into executive session pursuant to RCW 42.30.1404B to discuss professional negotiations. Let's give us, let's do 18 minutes. We'll come back at 5:30 by my clock. So back at 5:30, all the commissioners, you get the link to go to executive session sent to you earlier. Hopefully did. We'll see you over there. All right, it's 5:30, so we'll reconvene the regular meeting. We are now on old business. There's nothing on the agenda. Does anybody else have anything for old business? Moving on, new business. So we've got resolution 2022-12. Chief Oldenburg.
All right, commissioners, we've talked about the MRSC contract, at least one meeting, maybe a couple of meetings, but we have got everything ironed out. With that, you have a resolution in your packet tonight that would allow Gig Harbor Fire to enter into a contractual agreement with MRSC, that's Municipal Research and Services Center, for the use of their small works contractor and vendor rosters. So we would use their rosters for identifying and contracting with contractors in accordance with RCW. So this would alleviate us having to maintain these contracts, these rosters independently. We could use their service. It's a fairly nominal fee, depending, we're ironing that out, but it's probably, between $200 and $600 a year. So that's a very small fee for us. So before you is a recommendation or a resolution for us to enter into a contract with MRSC to use their rosters for those three purposes.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions on this resolution? All right, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2022-12.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution 2022-12. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ensy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Ervina,
Yes.
Chairman Wilsey.
Yes. All right, next item on new business is memorandum of agreement for Crystal Hackmeister. Chief Oldenburg again.
Yes, good evening, commissioners. Included in your packet is a proposed draft memorandum of agreement that would allow a change to Crystal Hackmeister's personal service contract with Gig Harbor Fire. This would allow her to opt out of our current employer provided insurance coverage and select coverage of her own. She would in return receive 100% of our current contribution for healthcare. That would be given to her in compensation, tax compensation in lieu of healthcare. I would stand for questions.
Do we need this to be approved by the board, or is this more just in front of us?
I think it's just in front of you. I do not believe it has to be approved by the commission, but I think the chief wanted kind of a weigh-in from the commissioners.
Okay. I mean, I don't think it necessarily requires a motion or approval by us. I think it's MOUs are delegated to the command staff, but I don't have any issue with it.
You're on mute, boss.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Chief Oldenburg, and we'll move on to item C, the 2023 budget hearing, third draft.
Okay. So included in your packet is the presentation for the third hearing and the third proposal. Let me share my screen here. Never quick enough here. Okay. So this is the third draft. Our today's agenda is very similar to the prior iterations. We're going to highlight our budget priorities, go over the key changes and considerations for the third draft. It will have an additional level of detail in this packet in comparison to the last packet. And the new things that we'll have is we'll introduce the capital packet or the capital budget and then review our timeline. Budget priorities really quickly, balanced budget, reserve requirements, and our commitments and obligations are met. Third draft key considerations, the things that are substantially different, will have the debt service and capital fund budgets are included in this draft. And then it does include the MSO operational changes that were discussed in the last meeting. Quick highlight into the organizational structure for 2023 for the budget. This is the same version as has been produced in the last couple meetings. This is the proposed budget by division in the same format as the last couple meetings. You'll notice the operational budget is $35.3 million, operations at 70%. Not a lot of changes here. Proposed budget by expense type, salary and benefits are 83% of the proposed budget for 2023. And with our maintenance and operations budget, everything non-personnel is at 5.8 million in the third draft. Here's a comparison of 2022 adopted to the third draft as proposed. Not a lot of changes here, just a little bit in terms of the salary and benefits and the MSO operational changes. This is a new slide for the third draft. This has the same information as displayed in the graphics before, but on additional level of detail to show the operational detail. So you'll see the suppression, EMS training and specialty teams. Under logistics, you'll see the logistics, the data and IT, communications, facilities and vehicle split. Health and safety, we've identified and split out that a little bit further. So it's not just prevention, we have the wellness and disaster prep areas as well. So it's just another slice of the pie, but just shows your salary, benefits, and maintenance operations by the next level of detail. And then before I move to capital, I'll just ask if there's any questions or anything anyone wants to speak to or share in this one before I move forward.
I have a question.
Sure.
Crystal, first of all, everything I've heard about you, from what I understand, you walk on water without getting your ankles wet. So kudos to you. That said, in the past, we've always received basically a small 3-ring binder and every line item was in there. So if I happen to walk into a station and somebody said, hey, I asked for some widgets, where is that in the budget? And I could page through it and say, it's not going to be funded this year, maybe next year. When will we get the line item budget? I can see this overall, but I'm looking at when can I expect to receive some kind of line item budget where I can see exactly where the money's going?
I think that's something that we can look at providing.
Okay, thank you.
And Commissioner, I'll weigh in here. This is, we definitely will provide you whatever level you want, Commissioner. And if you want all the way down to the line items, we'll definitely obviously provide you with that. It's just an opportunity. I've been trying to raise this up a little bit, right? That rather than going line item by line item of why are we spending $50 here, $100 there, giving you a higher level, we will definitely provide you with all the detail you want at any time you want. So we will make you a binder and get it to you. But I had directed Crystal to keep it at a high level. So, but we will provide that for you.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
Okay. Anything else? I'll move to the next slide here. So this is the summary slide for the 2023 budget for our capital fund. This will be a new fund for us. All of the bond proceeds and associated eligible expenditures will be in this capital fund. This budget is the 2023 estimated expenditures for this fund, and then all the corresponding projects that are included in 2023. So we have the Assistant Chief of Special Projects, that's Chief Johnson. We'll have associate project management costs, and then the 4 capital projects that are included and slated for 2023, which is the training tower, Station 57, Station 53, and 51. The other ones are scheduled outside of the 2023 window. And then we've included that based on the capital expenditure, project management costs, and there's a slight little bit of the maintenance and operational costs. So we have $9.6 million planned in the 2023 capital budget. Okay. Does anyone have any questions? This is pretty high level in terms of the capital budget. These estimates were provided in conjunction with Rice Fergus Miller, who is providing us assistance in determining the project schedule and the planned expenditures for these projects. Okay. Move to the next slide. This is an updated graphic provided by Rice Fergus Miller. This just shows the associated timeline for the projects, and this is what we built the 2023 budget on. So you'll notice these green areas in the 22 to 23 period have those projects that were identified in the prior slide. And then you'll notice those other ones after 51 do have planned expenditures in the 2024 and 2025 space. I'll pause there in case there's any questions. I know this is the first time we've done the capital side for this budget.
Hey, Chief, could I ask a question? What does it look like the timeline for moving some dirt, so to speak, starting construction on the training campus? Any idea?
Yeah, it will be, well, what we're being told is third quarter next year for dirt to move. So between now and dirt moving is the design documents, permitting, and everything. So hopefully we have a groundbreaking next summer to next fall.
Okay.
Yeah, Commissioner Sudich, the yellow designation on this graph is actual construction, and the green is the plans and development. So if you look at the first one, the training campus, the construction, the yellow line starts the third quarter of 2023. Those
Gotcha.
yellow are the construction and the green are the design and architecturals.
Okay. Thank you.
The plan's as good as it is today. It'll adjust tomorrow.
Okay. I'm going to move into the introduction for our debt service fund. We do have 2 things that are included in the 2023 budget for debt service. I'm going to skip to the second one first, debt service. That is $3.9 million. This is the associated debt service and financing costs to our bond issuance. So we are going through our bond rating process right now and the bond sale that is scheduled in November. These are the principal and interest payments that will be due in 2023. So those are the amount that is budgeted for 2023. The first one, I'm going to go into a little more detail on the next slide, but our SCBA is planned for future replacement, and we will have a slight amount of debt service and interest costs that will be due in 2023. Okay, going into a little more detail on the debt service side. Our SCBA breathing apparatus are nearing the end of their life cycle. We have planned for order and replacement in 2023. With that planned replacement, we are planning to evaluate and participate in the state local financing program. And based on the timing of when we would receive the assets, we will have just a debt service, and I'm sorry, an interest only payment due at the end of 2023. So that's why you'll notice on the prior slide that $51,000 is a pretty small debt service payment for the associated asset and financing. It's just because we only have to pay the interest only in 2023, and we'll see future principal and interest payments in 2024. In terms of local financing, we're using the interest rates that they have planned for their bond issuance for later of 2023. And that's what we have for the SCB, the debt service piece. This includes the estimated 50 million bond issuance. So this is both the debt payment and the associated interest costs. That amount and the exact dollar amount that will be due will be finalized after the bond sale, which is in the middle of November. And before I move on, I'll just see if there's any questions. Okay, moving into the budget timeline, we are here in the third draft of the operating budget and the first draft of the capital budget. Next up, it's on one line here, but next up will be the revenue hearing. We'll go in a little more detail on the revenue side. Next meeting, we'll have the fourth draft of the budget, and then a first hearing of the levy certifications for property tax, followed by budget adoption in November, and then a whole bunch of bond closing in December, and then we'll have some administrative cleanup hopefully in the late part of December. This goes into a little greater detail of what to expect to see in November related to budget. So you'll notice in our fourth draft, we will have 3 associated funds this time, and then the first hearing of our levy certifications, because we will have 3 for 23, which is new for us because the capital fund is new. Okay, any questions to the third draft?
Commissioners, I'm going to make Commissioner Sudich a binder with line items. Does any other commissioners want that much detail? Because we had not planned on going line by line down to that much detail in the budget presentation. So I will make one for Commissioner Sudich and deliver it. Does anybody else want that much detail?
No. And then I see Carl's got his hand up. I'm just going to allow him to ask the question. If we can let Carl in.
All right, I will drop yours off, Commissioner, probably not today, but tomorrow or the next day.
Hey, Chief, you can save a trip. I'm going to be at headquarters Thursday.
We will can we have it ready Thursday, Crystal?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
No, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to do it real quick. I'm not trying to push. No, forget what I said. I'm going to be there Thursday. If it's not ready, no big deal. You've got enough work and enough things on your plate, Crystal. When you have time, assuming you have time, let's not rush this thing.
Sure.
Fair enough?
Mm-hmm.
Carl should be able to speak right now.
Okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah, we got you, Carl.
Okay, all right. I have a couple of questions. By the way, Dennis, if you would make 2 copies, I would like to see the detail also. Marginal cost shouldn't be too much on that. Just a couple comments about the budget. And then I've got some other comments for general comments later. But one of the slides shows that the overall budget's up 7%, but I do note that salaries are up 12% and benefits are up 7.5%. So that a little different slant. I was also curious, and probably somebody can tell me this right off the top. How did you determine the M&O allocations?
I can speak to that if that's okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Please,
Sure.
Chris.
By the way,
Yep.
Crystal, let me tell you that Tom thinks that I sink like a rock when I try and walk on water.
In terms of the maintenance and operations, due to the available funds that we have in 2023, we took the prior year's budget and we determined what was base. So anything that was one-time in nature was removed. And then we went and further deep dive, and I went through every line item and evaluated whether or not we were actually expending those funds in those line items. And we did do a right sizing activity where we reduced line items that weren't being used. And then we went through all of our obligations and commitments and contracts, and anything that had a higher expenditure than we had assumed in our status quo budget, we did include those to our contractual obligations. That is the whole of our maintenance and operations budget. There's
And
nothing new.
But then what was the allocation by area? You came up with the whole, I understand that now, but how did you allocate to the various lines?
So everybody got the same budget from the prior year, line by line. And then we actually right-sized each individual line based on their planned expenditures, both historical and future expenditures.
Okay, thank you.
Was that it, Carl? Or do you have any more questions about the budget?
When we get to regular comment, I do have a couple of things I'd like to mention.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to go now or wait?
Let's wait because we got one more. We got to do the revenue hearing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Carl. All right, any other questions for Crystal regarding the budget hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the 2023 revenue hearing. Crystal again.
This is my problem with having 3 screens. I shouldn't have done it. Okay. Let's open the revenue. Okay. Okay, can you see that? Awesome. Okay, so this is our first and only introduction into the revenue hearing for the 2023 budget. This is required per RCW and goes into our line item detail both for all of our revenues and then also the information for levying our property taxes. Okay, so as a taxing district, we are required by state law to provide information regarding levying our taxes. This will go into greater detail into each line item. Another RCW that we are required to meet, we are limited under statute to only increase the revenue by 1%. That is from the prior year's levy. Exceptions to that statutory limitation of 1% is our levy lid lifts. So the only way to get out of, the only way to have anything different than the statutory limitation is for voter approved levies. Right now we are in 2 voter approved levies. We have the fire levy lid lift. We are in year 6 of the fire lift. And then the EMS lid lift right now, we are year 6 of the EMS lid lift. 2023, if the EMS levy is approved in the November ballot, that would be year 1 of 6 for the next levy lid lift. This just goes into an overview of our revenues here at the district. Taxes are the majority of our revenue source. We do have 3 associated property taxes in 2023. The EMS levy and the general expense levy are our existing levies. The one that is new for 2023 is our capital levy. That is an excess levy that was approved by voters this year. Our intergovernmental revenue types, we have our grants like our FEMA Safer Grant, GEMT as our ground emergency medical transport funding. This is a federal reimbursement that we get for eligible transports. And then excise taxes, while small, our leasehold and timber taxes are intergovernmental revenue. Moving into our next section, charges and goods and services, fire inspection fees. These are our associated contracts for fire inspection. Wildland cost reimbursement. This is where we have some of our staff participate in providing support for DNR or EMAC or other reimbursements. Sorry, not reimbursements. For associated fire support, we are reimbursed for those services that are provided there. And then our transport fees. This is the non-federal reimbursement. This is the amount that insurance companies do provide in terms of reimbursement for eligible medical transports. And then miscellaneous, which is very small in terms of our budget, is our investment interests, donations, and if there is any sale of surplus. So as I noted, capital levy is new for 2023. I did put a footnote on a couple of these that are just directly tied to eligible reimbursement. So it's not a profit of a revenue, it's more just reimbursing and recouping those eligible costs. This gives you a high-level overview of those categories and the proportion of our budget. As you can see with taxes, it is a greater pie for 2023 because this does include the capital levy that is new for 2023. So inclusion of that levy is 91% is collected by taxes. Intergovernmental, that was where we had that federal reimbursement for eligible transports. Grant, you'll notice, is quite a bit smaller for 2023. Our FEMA grant is in the tail end of that 3-year period. Charges for service, those are mostly our reimbursable activities as well. And then you'll notice miscellaneous revenues, that interest in other areas is small as well. Okay, moving into property tax. So here is a comparison of 22 to 2023 for our assessed valuation. This year in 2022, our assessed valuation was 15.4 billion. In 2023, you'll notice that it is now 19 billion. It is a 24% increase from the prior year. Moving into the regular levy, which is our fire expense levy. This is statutorily set at a max of $1.50 per 1,000 of assessed valuations. We have a voter approved 6-year levy lid lift. 2023 is the last year of that lid lift. That is what is included in the 23 budget. To give you the display from 22 to 23, you'll notice what the levy rate is for 22, and our assessed property tax collection is 21 million. For next year, you'll notice it is 22.6 million. This is statutorily set by the levy lid lift, which is 6% increase plus new construction. For our EMS levy, the statutory limit is 50 cents per 1,000 assessed valuation. This would be year one of the 6-year levy lid lift if approved in the November ballot. 2022 assessed valuation in EMS is 6.7 million. If approved, the 50 cent would be 9.5 million. The excess levy, our capital levy, is new for 2023. This year in 2022, voters approved an $80 million capital excess levy for the purposes of building our capital infrastructure. We have our resolution authorizing our bond to move forward with our bond issuance of up to $50 million. That was done in the last couple months. And then moving into the capital side. So there's a couple considerations. Capital is an excess levy rather than a regular levy. What this means is there are additional exemptions that the public may have. So if you have a senior exemption or anything like that, they are excluded from an excess levy and will not pay for this. So what that means is this excess levy assessed valuation of 18.8 billion is slightly smaller to account for those that are eligible for exemptions. So that's why it's not the 19 billion like you saw on the earlier slide. The projected excess levy rate for our capital right now is 21 cents. That will be finalized when we go through our bond sale next month to meet the debt service obligations. I'll just pause there in case there's any questions about the capital side. Okay, so property tax comparison, this just gives you a comparison of 22 to 23 as the three different ones. You'll notice on the top, the capital excess levy doesn't have a 22 because it is new for 2023. This is the same information, just in table form. It shows that we'll have the three associated levies. This will cover both our capital fund and our operations fund of 36 million for 2023. Property tax from a rate perspective, this shows the anticipated levy rate for 2023 for all three levies. Okay, moving out from property tax into our other revenue sources, our charges for service. We have our medical transport fees, the fee schedule that is provided and submitted through our third-party contract is per our fee resolution that was passed in 2021. This is associated with our medical transports and the associated insurance reimbursement. Our contracts for service, we do have a few contracts in terms with the correctional facility, the schools, and the county. That's what's included in the charges for service. And there are a couple other small things like our CPR and first aid classes. On the grants and intergovernmental, we've combined this onto one slide. GEMT is that federal reimbursement that I spoke to earlier regarding our transports. The excise taxes, which is a small portion of our budget in terms of the intergovernmental. And then FEMA, I think, is the one significant item in terms of revenue for 2023. This is the last 2 months of the 36-month grant for FEMA. Don't have much to say in terms of the miscellaneous revenue. It's donations, interest income, and sales of surplus, which is less than about 1% of our budget. This is the whole total summarized by the categories as we've previously gone through. We have 36 million for property taxes. This is inclusive of both our operating budget and our capital budget. Our intergovernmental, which includes the GEMT revenue. The reason I do have the asterisk in this slide, in previous iterations of the budget, our medical transports were listed under charges for service. GEMT is a federal reimbursement, is coded as intergovernmental. So you'll notice that if you are comparing from 22 to 23, we have broken out GEMT accordingly in alignment with the state and with our BARS accounting. So that is why that looks a little different if you're comparing from prior years. And then this goes into a little more detail than what we've gone on the earlier slides. These are all of our revenue sources by the associated categories, just in a different, more detailed layout. And so you'll notice the GEMT payment program does look higher in 2023 than prior years. While that is not an accurate representation, we have just fixed the accounting side of it, so it is split and coded appropriately. Okay, so that is the revenue side for 2023 for all three of our funds. See if there's any questions.
All right. Thank you, Crystal. All right, so we'll move on to item number 16, open public comment. Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes. I think Carl is here.
Can you hear me?
We got you, Carl.
Okay. A couple surprises in the last meeting. The lack of questions to the bond counsel and municipal advisor surprised me. I guess everybody's got a better handle on that than I do. One of the things that I wondered about on the collective bargaining agreements, those passed unanimously. There was no discussion on them other than the question of whether there should be 2 votes. Dennis indicated that they had been discussed earlier in executive session, but as far as public discussion, I didn't hear anything. I do have a question, and I'm sure you guys covered it and can tell me what it is. What is the fiscal impact of the 2 new contracts?
I think we covered it just in the budget hearing. I think when Crystal went over the numbers, the increase, and I think you said it, Carl, we have an increase of, I think it's a little over 7% in wages, and then I believe it's around 12% for the benefits.
I would wonder about that. Part of that has to be additional personnel, not just increases in salaries with the new contract. So I think there'd be some differentiation there on what generated that 12%.
Yeah. So Crystal's come back. So Crystal, you have a better, probably a more definite answer than I have. Then please provide it to Carl.
I can safely say there are no new FTEs, or I'm sorry, no new personnel included in the 2023 budget. I will say the benefit increase that you'll notice is mostly due to L&I. So our L&I rate did increase substantially from the prior year, both due to the firefighter experience classification. So not just our experience in terms of L&I, but also the firefighter classification as a whole increased substantially for 2023.
But as far as what was included in those 2 contracts, is there a fiscal impact from that?
Our increases experienced in 2023 were not due to the contract.
Okay, that answers my question.
Mm-hmm.
And there are no new FTEs planned for the year 2023.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from the public? I'm trying to look through, see if we see any other hands raised. Doesn't look like it. All right. So we'll move on to good of the order. Anybody have anything for good of the order?
2 things quick, Alex. I'm going to be at the commissioners conference starting tomorrow. I'm heading out till Friday. So unfortunately, I'm going to miss the retirement ceremony for Dan and Eric. And I just wanted to thank both of them specifically for all they've done for the district during their careers. And in particular, Eric's the first person I talked to when I was thinking about applying to become a commissioner, and he really encouraged me to do it. And I'm very grateful that he did. And I've always appreciated his perspective and insight during my time on the board. And Dan, it goes without saying, I just keep thinking about how glad I am that we were able to have almost 8 more years with him after January of 2015. And he's an example that attorneys can in fact be good people. So I just really appreciate all that Dan's done for the district, and during his career, and then during my time on the board.
All right, thank you, Bryce. Tanya, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to let the board know that we used the DocuSign for signing the labor contracts. And that process worked much better administratively. So we're going to be using DocuSign for signing all future board documents approved in board meetings. So you guys can expect to see that instead of the Adobe invitations in the future.
All right. Anything else for good of the order? All right, takes us to special interest upcoming events. Like Commissioner Nelson said, starting tomorrow through the 29th is the Washington Fire Commissioner Association Annual Conference in Spokane. I believe it is Commissioner Nelson and Urbina going to that. Thank you guys for representing. And then 10/27, which is Thursday, retirement celebration for AC Bjurstrom and DC Waters, 3:30 p.m. at Station 50 headquarters. And then the Family Fall Festival for Gig Harbor Fire folks, 1 to 4 p.m. at the training grounds right next to 50. And then December 1st, Pierce County Fire Commissioners and Chiefs Annual Banquet, details to be determined. Any other special interests or upcoming events from anybody? All right, seeing and hearing none, we will adjourn this meeting. Our next regular meeting will be November 8th at 5 p.m. right here on the Zoom. Everybody have a great night.